Hey, thanks for clicking on this video. Be sure to hit subscribe and hit the bell to receive all notifications because just hitting subscribe doesn't mean anything. Well, hello everyone. I've got another quick Clip Studio Paint tutorial. Again, I have Clip Studio Paint EX. This works with Clip Studio Pro as well. So whichever one you've got, this tutorial will work for. So what I've got here is a drawing of Wonder Woman, just a headshot here. And what I want to do is talk about how to color some of the black line art and make it, a lot of times it's called a color hold. But sometimes, especially if I want you to focus on her eyes, so I want the only solid black to be her eyes here and her eyebrows. It's going to draw your eye right to that. So what do? So a couple things to go over. First, I've got my line art here. You see, that's you see everything underneath it. But right here, I've locked it. This little lock key to make sure I don't accidentally color on that instead of a layer that I'm going to put on top of it. So I've got that selected. I'm going to go up here to my wand tool. Now, a couple notes about the wand. If you go to its properties over here, there's really, for what I do, there are two different ways I use it, and there's maybe three things. If you can get three things over here, you'll be doing okay. So you have follow adjacent pixel. That's when I toggle on and off pretty quickly. If I hit that, that means it's only going to select the same color if it's touching. So you see I've just got the nose there because that's that line. And if I go over here, it'll just select there and it'll stop. So for these purposes, with the wanting to color some of these lines, I'm going to not select that. So if I don't select that, when I hit black, it's going to select all the black areas. Now, one other thing too over here with multiple referring, you can either do selected layer, which means it's only going to select on the layer I have selected. So what that means is, like it's right here, it's going to that layer. It's just selecting all the black areas, ignoring everything else on all these other layers. Sometimes, if you want to select based on all layers, what it's doing is it's taking into account every layer and it's making judgments based on that. So it's actually trying to isolate that gradient there. It's got all the different colors down to the line art, but that has its uses. But for this, all you need to do is select selected layer and do not select follow adjacent pixel. So I'm going to just hit a black area and boom, it selected all the line art. Now, what I want to do here is make a new layer on top of that. And it's important that it is on top and it's just set to normal. It's just a normal layer. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to go in here and I'm going to select maybe, let's see, maybe this kind of reddish brown here. And I'm just going to get a brush. I'm going to color over that. And we're going to deselect real quick. And you'll see that it has changed pretty much because it selected all the pixels. So I can go in here and I can, like maybe around the skin tone, anywhere there's like right above her eye. And you can play with different tones to get it, colors just to get it just right. I'll stick with that for right now. Like her ear, I'm going to make a brown color. I'm going to make it down here. Now, we're going to deselect real quick, see how we're doing. It's good to deselect every so often and make sure that you're hitting, because like that little piece right there. Now it can get kind of, there are ways to do masks and alpha layers and all that in Photoshop, and I've for what I do and for what possibly you do as well, this works just fine for me. I've gone to print with this. It prints just fine. I'm going to go here and get her eyes as well. I'm going to get a dark blue here. But I'm just giving you a quick and easy way to adjust the colors into a color hold. See, you got to double check it there. So what I'm doing is deselect. I'm hitting Control D and it deselects. And then when I see an area here that's like, I just hit Control Z and that'll undo the deselect. So I can just toggle really quickly back and forth to check things. That's kind of my workflow with this. All right. Now, one of the things too that I'm going to do is I'm going to go up here to her little tiara. That's the word I'm looking for. I'm going to get a like a little brown color here, kind of goldish. I'm going to go the bottom of that. there. I'm gonna get that right there. And then I'm gonna go on top of that star with a dark red. So even the shading on that is still not gonna be black line art. And you'll see more and more it's pulling away your focus away from all this into her eyes. Now, one more thing I'm going to do is I'm going to do something with her hair. Like say I want to have like a gradient going through her hair, like maybe there's some light or whatever. But what I'll do here is I need to deselect some areas because I can either do a gradient over here or I can do an airbrush thing. But I'm going to go up here to the selection tool and I'm going to select the lasso. And what this lets me do is I'm going to hold down Alt and I'm going to go around and select the areas I want to deselect. So you hold Alt. So I'm going to go down here. I'm going to draw in a little lash there. I'll scroll down. I'm going to get all these areas that I've already colored all the way down. It doesn't take that long, especially for something like this. So once I've done this, it should be pretty much only, let me select that as well, her hair. Oh, and her tiara. We can't forget the tiara. These tiara is going to be. So we'll go through here. I'm deselecting all this area in here. Okay. Now what I can do it on the same layer. If you want to, just to be super safe, you could just make another layer on top and you can combine them later. It doesn't matter. So let me take the airbrush just for, let's say there's blue up here top. I've got a soft airbrush going and I'm just going to kind of, maybe there's some light coming down here and then maybe it'll go into a purple. And then as it goes into purple, we'll leave it kind of darker down there. Maybe real dark purple down here. Okay. Now deselect that. And oh, one thing I need to do as well is anytime I can go back to this layer 2 and select my color in her earring. Didn't do the color hold on her earring. Oops. And it's selecting. Now, one of the things that you might have just noticed, what it did was because I selected on this layer, it still selected the hair. But here we go. So now, as you can see, I've got color holds on everything except her eyes, which means her eye is drawn straight to her eye. And this is, again, an effect. It's it has a different feel to the whole thing, right? It's a very softer color scheme. It's not as sharp because a lot of the line art is kind of receding. So your focus really isn't on the line art, it's on her eyes. So that's a pretty straightforward how to do a color hold. Play around with it. And if there are any other Clip Studio tutorials that you want to see from me, please leave a comment and let me know what you'd like to see. And hit subscribe and hit the bell for notifications because hitting subscribe doesn't really mean anything by itself. And until next time, take care.